So if I text you a picture, you can get my GPS coordinates if I don't have that disabled.
There's a good chance that whomever you're sending those pictures to, they'll be able to get that metadata if they know what they're doing or if they want to. So having all that information readily available and sharing that, again, one picture may not be a big deal, but a trail of pictures could show habits, could start to paint a picture of where you generally are, whether that's at home, whether it's at friends, whether it's at a park, school, whatever the case may be. Is just additional information that bad actors can have.
It's a brand new day.
Welcome to a very special episode of Chaotic Digital World. We do not have a guest interview today. However, based on our conversations thus far, we feel it would be important to discuss a critical topic. You don't know what you don't know. In this episode, we'll be sharing information that we often take for granted as parents and users ourselves of things that could lead to scary and severe outcomes. Get your notepad out and get your Google fingers ready. Here we go.
So, Nick, we have a couple big topics to discuss today. And first, I think we could start pretty easy and say, why is it important to set parental locks? Why should we have those security checkpoints in place? What are the things that we're trying to prevent? I think we take these things for granted, but here's some things that really can be disturbing imagery or videos for children. Nudity, pornographic content, thinking about how easy it is to access those things. And really, our children seeing this before their eyes should be seeing it. We can't be 100% on this, but putting those checkpoints in place or those parental locks in place can certainly help reduce their ability to see these things, which I think is reason enough to do so. Drug and alcohol use, if it's excessive, they could be intrigued by it. They could think it's interesting. They could think it looks fun. So it could trigger thoughts of them wanting to explore or try something new. Excessive and explicit language. Sometimes they're going to come across that anyway, but being able to put parental locks around some of those things will certainly help make sure that they're limited in the things they shouldn't be hearing. Again, thinking adolescence, middle school, or even, 4th, 5th grade, going to YouTube and just going down these YouTube rabbit holes and being able to see those things, or violence in fighting videos. Some of those things can be very disturbing and scary. And, my children, when they were much younger, were seeing some of those types of videos, and it kind of created some fear of things like school fights and things like that, where people are essentially getting knocked out or beaten really badly and people are filming it and laughing at them. Kind of becomes a little bit of a tragedy or something that could unlock a new fear within. And a big one, Nick, which is self-harm. I mean, there's been some things around self-harm. I think you talked a little bit about something you've seen in the past.
Yes. So I remember several years ago as a teacher, the students coming in, and my kids weren't old enough to be watching YouTube at the time, but talking about Momo. That might be a flash from the past. But doing a little digging, because I was like, what did that do? I don't really remember. That video would come on, and sometimes it would even ask kids to text a certain number on WhatsApp, and then it would send directions to them. And basically was encouraging kids to harm themselves. And I remember my students coming in and just being devastated that they saw this and how scary it was. I know as my kids are getting older, I think about those parental locks, and sometimes we forget the importance of that little thing we can do to make a big difference in what our kids are seeing on social media.
Yeah. And just being able to, in addition to having those parental locks on, and understanding what that means for them, is having that conversation. We've talked a lot about it in our interviews thus far. Having that connection with your children, just being able to talk about it. In addition, we can't just set the parental locks and assume that they're going to be the end all be all, because their friends could be seeing these things and showing them, or they could access on their friend's device and bypass some of these. So just being able to consider those types of things, again, unintended consequences. When we take an action, what is the unintended consequence as a result of that? And just being able to think through those and having that dialogue with your children can go a very long way.
That dialogue piece is so important. Just recently, I found out something that my daughter had heard from a friend. And when I found out about it and had the conversation, it was almost like she was a little embarrassed to talk about it. But having that conversation, I think she realized that, she didn't do anything wrong, and it was kind of a teachable moment. So I think knowing that you are a safe person to talk to when they might see something that is a little scary or inappropriate goes a long way, like you said.
Oh, that's amazing. And being that trusted confidant, them having a trusted confidant goes a long way, no matter who it is. Somebody that would give them good guidance that's great. Love that. Thank you for sharing. Let's talk photo details. It's kind of scary. I mean, we all post images online, right? We post videos, we post images. People know stuff about us, whatever, right?
Yeah. And I just learned recently, I was telling you a few weeks ago, that you can actually click on a location on a map and see what pictures you took at that location. So I am eager to find out what information you have on this topic, because it is crazy what you can do with a picture.
Let's talk metadata. Metadata is interesting. If you don't know what it is, basically metadata for a picture taken on your device. It's on cameras too, but I mean, the big thing is we take a lot of pictures with our phones and share them. Social media isn't as big of a deal because most of the major social media platforms strip the metadata when you upload. So for the most part, we're covered there. But if you share a photo via text, email, maybe WhatsApp, maybe some of those other texting platforms, your metadata may travel with that. But what is metadata if you don't know? It captures with each image date, time, not a big deal. Device, model, manufacturer. Could be something for somebody to say, oh, they have a Samsung or they have an Apple device. It could give them a little bit of information to say, how do I hack this device or whatever? Maybe, maybe not. But it's a little bit of information. The author, obviously, who the phone owner who owns that device. Versioning for edits, simple enough. Device camera settings, shutter speed, ISO, aperture. If you're a photographer, you know. If you're not, no big deal. But the last one, location data by GPS coordinates. So on your device, just like you said, if you have this enabled, you can actually go into your camera roll. You can go into your photos and see exactly when and where you took your pictures by map, by location, and GPS coordinates. Can be disabled. A lot, I think by default, it's enabled. So if you're unaware of that, you can leave a trail of information behind unknowingly.
So if I text you a picture, you can get my GPS coordinates if I don't have that disabled.
There's a good chance that whomever you're sending those pictures to, they'll be able to get that metadata if they know what they're doing or if they want to. So having all that information readily available and sharing that, again, one picture may not be a big deal, but a trail of pictures could show habits, could start to paint a picture of where you generally are, whether that's at home, whether it's at friends, whether it's at a park, school, whatever the case may be. Is just additional information that bad actors can have to start to piece together something. And we all know there's a lot of things that could go haywire when somebody wants to target somebody online. They are really good at their job, and it's only getting easier with AI. I'll talk a little bit about that later. But if they want that information, they'll find tricky ways to get it.
You were telling me about a social media story about how easy it can be to find your location if you are targeted. Would you be willing to share that? It was fascinating.
Oh yeah, you talking about just
The sandwich story.
details in the picture.
Mhm.
That's exactly right. Well, so there's a few more things with photos. Metadata is a big thing. It can be disabled, but again, as I mentioned, it's enabled. But just details within the picture themselves can lead to somebody finding your location, something in the background, something in the foreground, such as a name of a restaurant tag or a cup, like a little coffee cup that has like the name of the coffee shop. They can start to piece together just details from the photo itself. Just looking at the photo and doing some reverse engineering can oftentimes lead to them finding out exactly where you are, which is it's kind of interesting. But so where this goes to is satellite imagery, geolocation. So at a higher level, you can actually find those little details within the photo. And then from a reverse engineering perspective, you can turn around and go to Google Maps, use their satellite imagery to drill down all the way into the information that you believe you have due to the background. Bird's eye view, you can go to street view and confirm this is exactly where they were. It is quite interesting. Actually, the story you referenced, I saw a post where this gentleman, he said, this guy posted a sandwich but doesn't want to say where he got the sandwich, but he raved about how good it was. I want the sandwich. So what he did was inspected the photograph of the sandwich, just a little piece of the paper that the sandwich comes on, the restaurant, puts in the little basket. There were just 4 letters. He noticed and observed those 4 letters, got a really good look at the sandwich and the details that he could see around it. Then he went and looked at a few other images on this particular guy's social media page and gathered that he's in New York. He was around New York Library a year or so ago. He took a picture of the Empire State Building. So I said, okay, this guy's in New York most likely. Let me see if I could do New York, put those 4 letters in. 2 options came back. He ended up being able to not only find the restaurant and the exact sandwich, but at the end of the video, he was eating the sandwich on the subway and said, yeah, it's pretty good.
Very clever. And this is just about a sandwich shop, but I mean, take that into real life and think about how easy it is to find something. And if you're targeted, it could be more serious, obviously. But that is so crazy.
Absolutely. Yeah. The satellite imagery and geolocation is referred to open source investigations, or OSINT. Go to YouTube and check out OSINT videos.
Lots of videos out there.
Lots of videos out there. It's a little disturbing, but it's also, you can't look away. It's so fascinating because investigators are using these tactics to find people, trails left behind on social media, and they report that to the authorities. So it's being used constantly every day. This episode of Chaotic Digital World is brought to you in part by Next Steps Inc. Next Steps, a software created for schools or organizations to transform the way we think about attendance management. Did you know? When an institution or organization uses 5 minutes per day for 6 sessions, that's equivalent to 15 wasted hours per month. And if there's an emergency evacuation, emergency personnel have to go in and search for those who may be hiding. We've solved those problems and more. At Next Steps, you can say goodbye to manual attendance and hello to efficiency and productivity. Our software automates the entire process, saving you time and resources. Visit us on our website at next-stepsinc.com to book a demo and learn more. We're waiting to speak with you.
So the next thing we're going to talk about is sharing your personal details and locations with strangers. So we know the basics, and hopefully we're teaching our children not to share your birthday or your age or your full name. I tell my son when he's playing his video game, like, nobody needs to know your last name, where you go to school, or what team you might play for. Those details can, help somebody easily find someone. But thinking about security question details too was really fascinating to me.
Yeah, that's exactly why they'll try to get those details. I mean, for middle school students, maybe not as big of a deal for security questions or things like that, but they certainly can lead to them learning more about where the location of that child is, which leads to scary stuff, extortion, sextortion, things that are we don't even want to think about, but they happen. So it's a real thing. So we need to consider that. But think about a high schooler that is now working, maybe junior, senior, freshman year of college, something like that, and you're posting a lot of information. Somebody's able to scrape that information in a way that they can connect with you. And so targeting becomes even easier at that point, because they now have information that you associate with. They can tap dance around that, get you sucked in. And then next thing you know, you're sharing information, or you think, again, catfish is a real thing. It happens. But again, these are bad actors that can, whether it's financial gain, whether it's for some other scary and unnerving reasons, they can get this information, and they're really good at doing so.
So I tell our kids, like I said, not to share their last name. Some other things that go with security question details are like your mother's maiden name is a common question, your favorite sports team. So when we post those things online, like we might post at a sporting event or go whatever team, and then people know that can give them information for a security question. So just something that I hadn't really thought about. But location details also, including home address, maybe a friend or a relative, the school that they go to, their favorite place to hang out or go to for fun. Any of that information that is shared online or on social media platforms can lead to many different cyber dangers. So it just some tips to really keep our kids safe.
Yeah. And the location information, thinking about gaming platforms, making sure that they are not oversharing information. That is a common place for predators to hang out and get information from unsuspecting gamers.
Yes.
Young users, young gamers.
Yes. We have Oculus is new in our house, and some of the games where they're playing in chat rooms, they like to share where they're from. So they'll say like, oh, I just played with someone from Ukraine, or I played with someone from wherever, which is really cool. They
Very
think
cool.
as kids that, I'm telling them where I'm from, but also scary because you don't know who you're talking to. So that's definitely a conversation we've had.
Yeah. And I think we've heard both from Special Agent Daniel Root and our parent perspective, Aaron, have also shared. It's just a great way to frame this up. You're inviting everybody in once you start getting and accessing those platforms. So it's just a different way to look at it. But what's even scarier is how efficient bad actors are getting with all of this, because AI is turned, obviously with social media, there's good and the bad, right? AI is giving bad actors the ability to do things at super speed levels, scraping, data scraping. They can scrape somebody's profile or a ton of profiles and just start gathering a bunch of information that was a little bit more manual in the past, or you had to maybe use some coding. You had to know how to code to do that in the past. No, those days are gone. You just put the prompts in, put the parameters of what data you want back. It does it at a very rapid pace, way faster than we would ever be able to. And so the efficiency of AI is turning very scary in this regard.
Yes, efficiency is a good word for it, because I think there are a lot of amazing things that AI can be used for, but it does have a lot of information and can do a lot of harm as well. You were talking about that AI voices can do robocalls.
That's right. Yeah.
This is new information to me.
And the FCC has banned it and deemed it illegal. So it is an illegal action to do that. But of course, it's still happening, right?
Not going to stop
Yeah,
everyone.
it's not going to stop everybody, because trying to trace back some of these calls, the way they mask these calls, it's somewhat untraceable. So even with the voices and robocalls, the generative imagery and video is also being leveraged. Again, based on the information that it scrapes, they can start a targeted attack on an individual based on what, hey, we learned such and such about this person, and that could be our in, as far as saying, hey, my birth date is a common month as yours, or I hang out at this place. They can find little things to associate with whomever they're targeting, just to get that buy-in and create some association, so people let their guard down, which is the purpose of that. But the data it collects, it also can send out sophisticated phishing emails. Think
Wow.
about phishing emails. How do we know that they're phishing emails generally? There's grammatical errors. There's just the way that sentences are structured. You kind of can start reading through some of these and you're like, oh, wait, this seems fishy, pun intended. But now AI will start eliminating the thing that helped us in combating phishing emails. It will look legit. And if it's able to scrape that we just went to Best Buy, or we bought a computer from the Apple Store, or whatever the case may be, right? They can or we ordered something on Amazon. They can then start using that as the targeting attack and say, and it happens to me occasionally. I'll say it's with Amazon, but everybody orders Amazon, but it'll come through and it'll look pretty legit. And I'm very careful not to click those things, but it's just going to become harder and harder to detect. And so just being aware that those areas of attacks, whether that's a phishing email, whether that's lure documents based on your habits or recent transactions, can really become a problem going forward due to AI capabilities.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up with all the AI stuff out there. But would you say a good tip when you see an email that you are questioning would be to go to the source instead of responding or clicking on anything in that email? Go directly to Amazon, go directly to your bank, go directly to that source.
Absolutely. Also, a good tip there, and it's not foolproof, but going to the source is the best. Whether you're going to your account, logging in not through that email, don't click on any links in those,
Right.
on those messages that you receive, but actually going to your account, looking to see if that's something that is an issue or that can be that you can visibly see that needs to be resolved. But you can generally go to the sending email, the sender email. So who actually sent this email? Generally, it's a name with some numbers at Gmail or Yahoo or something that's like, wait a minute.
Something's not right.
Something's not right. That's absolutely the best way to go about those types of attacks.
Great tips. I'm learning so much from your knowledge about all the things that you know about AI and the maps and sharing those personal details. I think that you have given me some good tips, and I'm learning some things to share with my family and my students. So thank you for that. And hopefully we have shared some information with our listeners.
Yeah, and that's what it's about. This is not to create fear, so please don't take it that way. We know that there's great benefits in being connected, whether that's via social media, through our digital devices, gaming. All of those things are great ways for us to connect and enjoy entertainment. This is just about being safe while we're doing those things and just being considerate, teachable moments for our children and us. I mean, it's easy for us to take for granted those things, even in our own posting or gaming habits. So yeah, we're happy to share this, and just know if you're interested in some of these topics or some of the things that we've shared, go check them out on Google and learn a little bit more about it. Being able to talk about this thoroughly or more in depth with your children, and just being armed with information. So just find good sources and be safe.
Because you know why?
Why?
You don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know. That was great. I love that. All right. Well, Nick, as always, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. There's not going to be a recap today.
Thank you for your time. And remember, in the midst, I forgot it. I panicked. And remember, in the midst of chaos, there's always a way to find clarity. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
We are growing and would love your feedback. Please rate us and share your thoughts or any topics you would be interested in us covering in the future. Are you or someone you know interested in being a guest on the podcast? Visit us at chaoticdigitalworld.com.
One way to help support the show is by adding a new resource to your library. Order a copy of A Parent's Guide, Keeping Your Children Safe in a Chaotic Digital World today on Amazon. Follow us on all social media platforms, and don't forget to subscribe to keep updated with new episodes and bonus content. As always, thank you for listening.